There are always these opportunities passing by us every day, yet we fail to react. It's not because we are unmotivated, but it's rather the lack of foresight, not being able to see what these little opportunities can offer you in the foreseeable future. Because we all have limited means, right? It can possibly be financial, physical, mental, or educational, and we can feel a little tied down with these means we have. I can only do this if I had that much money. I can only apply to this job if I had this much experience. I can only become a successful writer if I had this much time, or whatever else I want to become. We are just always quick to dismiss because it's like, why me? If there was ever a place for you there, chances are someone else is probably more fit, probably. And so once again, another opportunity is thrown out of the window. We may just not only dismiss our available means in the face of new opportunities, but we may proceed to add justifications as to why we will never be able to make it work. We sometimes just can't help but set up roadblocks to anything remotely out of our comfort zone. You know, if we are going to talk about means and potential, Musas Staff comes to mind right away. Musa had a staff, one that he thought not that much of. When he is having his first conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Taha, Allah asks about it to see what Musa has to say. وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا مُوسَى قَالَ هِيَ عَصَايَ أَتَوَكَّأُ عَلَيْهَا وَأَهُشُّ بِهَا عَلَى غَنَمِي وَلِيَ فِيهَا مَآرِبُ أُخْرَى قال ألقها يا موسى فألقاها فإذا هي حية تسعى. And what is that in your right hand, O Musa? He said, it is my staff. I lean on it and I beat down leaves with it for my sheep, and I have many other uses for it. He said, throw it down, O Musa. So he threw it down, and suddenly it was a snake running around. Musa is shown to have a limited understanding as to what potential this staff has. His staff was used for sheep and physical support and other uses, but Allah teaches us here that He owns all things, and so He gets to have the say on how much potential these things can reach. And so by the end of that conversation, Allah transformed Musa's staff to an actual living snake. The underlying lesson of these verses shatters all these chains we put on the means we own. Sometimes the potential of what we possess surpasses the limitations we put on them. In Musa's case, he also had a range of concerns at some point that made him unable to visualize taking on his given opportunity, his own prophethood, and supposedly rescuing the children of Israel all by himself, because he lacked the means. Musa alayhi salam's concerns were so frightful that it doesn't really compare to any concerns we might have for ourselves. In Surah Al-Shu'ara, Allah lists exactly all that he was worried about. قَالَ رَبِّي إِنِّي أَخَافُ أَن يُكَذِّبُونَ وَيَضِيقُ صَدْرِي وَلَا يَنْطَلِقُ لِسَانِي فَأَرْسِلْ إِلَى هَارُونَ وَلَهُمْ عَلَيَّ ذَنْبٌ فَأَخَافُ أَن يَقْتُلُونَ. He, Musa, said, my Lord, I fear that they will reject me, and my heart gets straitened, and my tongue is not fluent, so send for Harun. Moreover, they have leveled a charge of offense against me, and I fear they will kill me. Musa here expresses 5 concerns to Allah. They can deny and ridicule him. His chest might tighten from anxiety. His tongue might lack proper fluency from his speech impediment. He needs his brother. On top of all this, they could also kill him because of his crime in the past. So this is pretty intense stuff. And to be honest, we shouldn't be all that surprised that he listed all of these worries. We do the same thing when faced with any difficult task to take on. And so this is actually beautifully genuine, and this shouldn't lower his status from our eyes. And Allah's response to this, قَالَ كَلَّا فَاذْهَبَ بِآيَاتِنَا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ مُسْتَمِعُونَ. He said, no, most certainly not. So go, the two of you, with our signs. Surely we shall be with you, listening. No. In Arabic it was kalla, which is a very emphatic no. Very dramatic no. As if to say, no, do not worry about it, Musa. Everything will be taken care of. Allah knows these concerns more than Musa himself, and so it wasn't going to stop the wheel from turning. Allah explained to Musa that this wouldn't compromise anything. Do not worry. Focus on what is given to you. And in this particular scenario, what was given to Musa was Allah's signs, and amongst them was that staff. A staff, an object that Musa described simply to be used for leaning on and tending to his flock of sheep. A simple asset with simple means. Allah didn't give him a grandiose stick with gold cravings that light up at night. It was just his own staff. And as we know, this same staff managed to kickstart events that changed the course of history as narrated to us later in Surah Al-Shu'ara. فَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى أَنْ أَضْرِبْ بِعَصَاكَ الْبَحْرَ فَانْفَلَقَ فَكَانَ كُلُّ فِرْقٍ كَالطَّوْدِ الْعَظِيمِ. So when we revealed to Musa, saying, strike the sea with your staff, it was severed apart, and each part became like a big mountain. Allah destined for a simple stick to be used to disable Pharaoh. A tyrant along with his propaganda by making the staff destined to split a sea by Allah's will and free the children of Israel from their oppression. Look again at what simple assets Allah has given you, the tangible and the intangible. One can argue a device connected to the internet can make more of an impact in the world than a staff. One of the things we take away here is how Musa was so apprehensive, yet he didn't realize that the object he carried with him for so many years would be able to overcome all these problems on a monumental scale. In the competitive landscape today, this hits home. Don't underestimate a diploma, bachelor, or high school, or even basic education. Even if you happen to have graduated within a field you still don't see the point of, don't undermine your experience, even if it's too embarrassingly short. Don't despair on your inherent strengths because you think too much time has passed without having done, any serious achievements with them. Allah ultimately owns all things, including our talents and resources, and so we don't get to have a say on the limit these things can reach. This makes me appreciate and ponder, over the talents and resources I am given. Because in the end of the day, they are very particular. This really gives us hope into what's possible. Someone applying to a top college shouldn't underestimate his grades, even if they barely pass the minimum. Someone who wants to be a writer shouldn't despair because it's been too long without any practice. We can't afford to downplay our talents and our tools. We can't afford to leave things out of the picture. Allah can facilitate these resources for you once you put them to use, and then you can make waves. And sometimes the greatest waves are set with very small means. Musas Staff has been always a proof of that. Just make sure to react to your opportunities and strike. And of course, as always, I just want to remind you this is not a tafsir. This is a reflection on the established meanings of the verses amongst our scholars. I'm not your neighborhood scholar or your teacher. I'm just some Muslim kid.